Hey guys, how's it going? Okay, I'm not really sure where the intro of this video came from, but let's go ahead and jump right in. So today we're going to be talking about the training grounds in Overwatch and exactly what purpose it serves us right now, and going forward some of the exciting changes that I think are going to be brought to Overwatch. So this video is also, I'm partnering with GameLeap, so make sure you stick around because in a couple minutes I'll tell you more about the services that they offer. So let's head right in. I'm just gonna be talking over the footage right here. The practice range does not need any sort of introduction. You know what it all is. We have a couple training bots, we have some that move, some that stand still, and that's about it. It's a rather small map and it's pretty easy to figure out. So it doesn't need any introduction, but I want you to think about right now, when was the last time that you spent time in here trying to perfect your mechanics? And then also think, when was the last time that pro players are spending time in here perfecting their mechanics? I'm going to assume that you yourself have not spent much time in here, and also that pro players, when you look at their streams, when you're watching any of the big high-ranking streamers, the only time I've ever seen them in this place is occasionally at the start of some of their streams. They'll put on some music and come shoot heads for a minute or two. And that's how they started, just for their initial warm-up for the entire day after booting up Overwatch for the first time. So this is telling me that this is not a super practical place to play, and we'll talk about why that is. And also, people just don't seem to be using it because of what I priorly just said. So let's get into why people aren't using this a ton. Number one, this isn't a fantastic place to up your mechanical skill. These are very easy hitboxes. These are these are like the size of tanks essentially. I mean, these are big things with huge head hitboxes. This is like the biggest head hitbox in the game is the training bot, and it's too easy to predict. Now, if they were faster, if it was hard to track, then maybe this would be something we could talk about actually being useful for you. But it's pretty widely understood that there is no benefit from shooting these things over and over. Unless you're doing crazy McCree flicks like that, there's really nothing gonna help you here. But the fact that we have this at all, the fact that there is such thing as this magical practice range that is unlike anything else we have in Overwatch. It has its own map, its own features. They even made the training bot just for this. They designed this model. The fact that they did all of this, it shows that Blizzard is willing to help players by putting in some sort of game mode or feature or map like this, where you are able to hone your skills. Now, this is a great template, and it's better having this than nothing, I guess, but we can build onto this to make it amazing. Now, let's get into why this is not good practice. Now tell me, which Overwatch hero looks like this? Even with a head hitbox this big, which Overwatch hero looks like this? Obviously, the answer is none. This is not realistic practice, is the first thing. Now, one instant way to make the training grounds better place, or the practice range a better place to practice, is if you were to remove the training bots and add Overwatch heroes. If you were to make this Overwatch heroes walking around, that would be a lot more beneficial to you because that's what you're actually going to be shooting against in game, rather than just the robots that are incredibly easy to hit, even though I just missed my shots, that are incredibly easy to hit and you're not going to ever struggle. So now really quickly, I'd like to take a few seconds and talk to you about GameLeap, who I've partnered with to bring you this video. Even though this video, which has a heavy hand in the mechanical side of Overwatch, being that we're talking about the practice range, the real thing that's going to let you climb is your game sense and decision making, and that is the area where GameLeap can help you succeed in. If you wish to climb to new ranks in Overwatch, you need to invest in yourself. You need to invest time in studying the game, studying the mental patterns that players are making that are higher ranks than you, understanding what decisions are being made and what the reasons are for those decisions. These are all things that GameLeap can help you understand. GameLeap is a website that is full of video tutorials that are made by some of the highest ranking players in the world to help you understand how to get better at the game. At the end of the video, I will show you a special offer I have if you go to the website right now. So we've talked about replacing these bots with Overwatch heroes to make more realistic targets, but we can even go a step further than that. Let's look at the simple breakdown of this map. The practice range is broken into sections. You have targets that stand still versus targets that move versus literally a range. They mark the range on this and you can practice your shots against standing still. What we're looking at here is that there are different parts to the range to practice different things. That is the general idea, a very loose idea that it looks like they're trying to run with. Now let's take that into different parts of the game. What if different parts of the map also went forward with things like, what if there was a tracer? Let's say replace this training bot with a tracer, and the tracer blinks in a random I didn't mean to click. What if the tracer blinks in a random pattern and your job is to play McCree and you can stand back from whatever distance you'd like and try to hit flick headshots, as you know. I mean, obviously that's a really short place for a tracer to blink, but like out here, what if a tracer would blink across all of these things? It's your job to try to stand here and hit flick shots. Stuff like that is really good practice. Stuff where you can't predict where the tracer is going to move and it all relies on your reaction to flick and hit the shots. And we're getting into what kind of reminds me of, and I talked about Aim Hero and why programs like that really aren't going to be benefiting you as a player. Well, what if we did have some sort of target practice in game? Like what if this wall had targets that would grow, and it could be you playing whatever hero you're wanting to try to land shots with, and as the targets appear, you flick and try to hit them, and it's all in-house. So going forward, if we had different areas like that and just different aspects of the game that are unique to Overwatch, tracers blinking is one of them, you playing McCree trying to land shots, and also, what about a jumping Widow? What about if there was an area where there was a hub where you can go in, or you can bind a key to, okay, now a Widowmaker will grapple right there. It's like a bot. A Widowmaker bot will grapple up right there, and you can play Widow and try to snipe her while she's in air. Because that is a common scenario that you are seeing in game as a Widow player. Often, not only are you using the grapple hook and trying to get the jump shots, but other Widows are always doing that at all ranks. So, having scenarios that you would see in a comp game, in an actual match of Overwatch, drawing scenarios in the practice range that you need to start getting familiar with is going to be what brings the practice range from this kind of cool. I love the aesthetic of this place, and I think it's in a way like cinematic. I actually love this area for the way it looks. Taking it more from something visually appealing to something that is actual practical practice. What? To making this a form of practice that is practical. And so another thing, talking about improvements to the practice range that can be made, if these training bots, one thing I don't understand is the time it takes to respawn. If you were to practice your Genji blade, you can go through, kill them all, you're still waiting for them to respawn. If you're just wanting to go as McCree and headshot them all, that's how long it took for this guy to respawn. But yeah, if you go through as McCree and you're just going to double click everyone's head, it takes 2 headshots to kill them. You land 2 headshots and it takes just a few seconds to do that, you're out of targets. They're all dead. You have to wait a couple more seconds for them to respawn. If you want to make the easy changes right now without actually changing anything Blizzard visually, or changing the heroes and the models themselves, make it so that the respawn is either almost instant or less than 3 seconds, because it should never get to the point where I'm waiting on most of them to respawn, because then it feels like I'm just kind of wasting my own time, you know? And like if we're still waiting for half of them to respawn now. So there are a couple of changes like that that could immediately be done that would help improve the rate at which people were spending time in here, because right now there's really no point. If you were to just set yourself into a game with bots, which I actually have to keep reminding myself that there even is a game mode. Excuse me, bot. I have to keep reminding myself that there even is a game mode that is just you versus bots, and that you can actually play that, because I have to forget it's even a thing. And I think going forward that this is something that we will see happen over time. It may not be at the top of Blizzard's list right now. They've got a lot of other important things I think that they're trying to take care of first. But this is something that I do believe will happen. Something where the practice range becomes a lot more practical. And that's going to be a big win for the player base. And I think this is something to get excited about, because the practice range could be a really cool tool that players could be using. And it may not be this year, but I'm hoping maybe sometime in the near future that some of these changes are implemented. And the fact that we can start making competitive regularity, and it would be cool to see normal happenings in competitive as practice scenarios in practice range. That's what would make this a very practical place to practice. That's a lot of P words right there. So now that we've talked about what seems to be mostly mechanics in this video, given that it's a practice range mostly for your mechanical skill, let's go ahead and talk more about your game sense. And that's why I've partnered with GameLeap, and now is your chance to head over to their website right now and use code Nateson for a huge percentage off your premium subscription. I highly recommend you getting a subscription, because your game sense is more important than your mechanical skill. Invest in yourself. You can click over to the website right now by clicking the A on the screen. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.